How would you respond if I told you we are trees? Have you considered that you have a story that underlines your actions? And when you meet another person, the same idea is true? There is a hidden root system growing underneath, holding us up. I'd like to share my own story that led me to this idea and then help lead you on your own journey. I was born in March of 1984, about 3 months before my due date. As I began to grow, my parents noticed some things that didn't seem quite right. Among them, my inability to sit up. My legs seemed to point straight out. And one day, instead of grabbing a toy with my left hand, I made a fist and moved it to my right in order to grasp. The doctors had a name for this, cerebral palsy, caused by lack of oxygen to the brain at or during birth. Cerebral palsy, or CP, means that a person's brain is sending the message to deliver too much muscle tone to parts of the body. For me, it mainly impacts my lower extremities. When I began to learn how to walk, my knees turned in and my left foot was essentially flipped as I dragged it behind me. I fell often. In 1988, at the age of 4, I underwent extensive surgery where my Achilles tendons and hamstrings were cut and lengthened. My femurs were also cut and rotated so that I could walk with both of my feet flat on the ground. After being entombed in a body cast for 6 weeks, I began to heal and the results were amazing. I have walked independently without the use of crutches or a walker for most of my adult life. But what about that left foot that I used to drag behind me? Because of heredity and my CP, I developed a bunion on the side of my big toe. I didn't find it to be painful, but I did find it to be ugly. It always seemed odd to me that my left foot and my right foot didn't match. I took great care to hide my feet during my formative years, even from myself. Sitting alone, I'd place my right foot over my left so I didn't have to see it. I'd made sure to wear socks when in other people's homes. I bought sandals that covered the toes. Even with all that effort, sometimes people would see my feet, and sometimes they would comment. I have this vivid memory of a girl at summer camp who saw my bare feet and crinkled up her face in disgust, almost near tears, asking me, "Ew, what is that?" It was with these emotions in mind that I revisited my surgeon in 1999, the one who had done such great work when I was a kid. I hadn't seen him in several years, and I was now a freshman in high school. He did something that day that I've never experienced before. He honored my left foot. Taking my bare foot in his bare hands, he carefully spread my toes and looked at them, not in disgust, not needing to hide anything. And then he said something to me that I will never forget. "You are normal." I wanted to take him with me to high school the next day and introduce him to all my peers and tell him, "This guy thinks I'm normal." Maybe I wasn't a freak of nature after all. What was bulging on the side of my foot was normal for people with a CP. He had seen it several times before, and unless I was experiencing pain, and I wasn't, it didn't need to be removed. Something else happened that day. I beheld someone who was highly educated, elite, and yet in his compassion, he wanted to be around a high school student with a deformed left foot. I began to understand that very few people have the knowledge, skills, and talent to alter a person's walk. I began to realize the magnitude of what he had done for me and its impact on my daily life. That day, I realized that orthopedic surgery not only transformed the way I walk on this earth, but how I walk through life. From that day on, I decided I wanted to be someone who was compassionate. I wanted to develop something inside me that I might give away to other people. Medicine is not my field, but eventually I realized my calling to become a teacher. I began to study for hours each day, all the way through high school and into college. Many people began to notice my drive and told me I belonged in higher education. I graduated top of my class, earned my master's degree, and spent 11 years as an elementary school library media specialist. I finished my doctorate in 2016 and in 2019 accepted an offer as an assistant professor of education. The day after my interview for my new college job, I was sitting in another orthopedic surgeon's office, staring into the face of a young resident who had spent the morning at a seminar, learning from the hero of my youth. It was now 20 years later, and that bunion had started to hurt. Every left step, every day. I had tried all the non-invasive options. Nothing had brought relief. Not only did the bunion need to be removed, but my step had to be altered so the problem didn't return. My left Achilles tendon needed to be lengthened yet again. I began my career in higher education with a rainbow cast, a walker, and another physical reminder of why I had entered into this profession in the first place. That's the story of my own root system, what has held me up. And it's through these hidden experiences like the one I had with my surgeon that develop support and help us become the towering oaks we were designed to be. But what about you? What is growing underneath the surface in your life? What is it that's being developed in the hidden realms that's very much alive, yet unseen? Do you want to be an artist, a scientist, a writer? Maybe you want to be a parent. Maybe you want to stand or sit on a stage like this one and speak. Whatever it is, keep on nurturing your dream. It's about making a little commitment every day towards achieving your goal. Every day, set aside some time to work on your art. Study, practice. It's in the hidden moments, the routine repeated day after day, that will help you grow. Secondly, I wanted to ask you, what is breaking ground in your life right now so that new life can sprout up? Sometimes in life we experience suffering and pain along the way to becoming who we are going to be. I think the challenge is to let the breaks, the cracks in the surface have their way so they can lead to our wholeness. Helen Keller is quoted as saying, "The struggle of life is one of our greatest blessings. It makes us patient, sensitive, godlike. It teaches us that although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of the overcoming of it." If you find that your life is breaking apart today, pay attention. You may soon see life sprouting forth. My third question for you today is, have you noticed what kind of fruit you're bearing? I was observing in life that sometimes we feel like a plant that has overgrown its pot. Suddenly life has gotten really uncomfortable and we find that we need more space than before, different soil, and the freedom to spread out. It's at that time in our lives that becomes alarming that the fruit we are bearing is sometimes different than those around us, as if we are different types of trees. This can feel lonely and uncomfortable, and I'm sure you've been there. And that leads me to my last question. How are you giving life to others? How is your fruit helping to feed a hungry world? There is no right way to do this, and it could change over time. Your fruit could be serving a meal in very public ways as you lead a nonprofit or a business or a school. Your fruit could be private as you rock a baby to bed at night, care for people who are disabled, or help the homeless. Whatever it is, find a way to plant it in fertile soil, because inside it are the seeds of future life. As I conclude today, I want to leave you with these thoughts to savor. The next time you encounter someone who is different than you, perhaps a different race, gender, or physical ability, can you remember that deep inside that person is a hidden root system, a story that you don't yet know? There is something that has held them up over time, waiting to be discovered. You can plant the seeds of the future, inspiring the next generation of people to become who they are. An artist, a writer, a mother, speaker, college professor, an orthopedic surgeon, or a school librarian. Ladies and gentlemen, have you considered we are trees?